Holy moly, hello everybody, this is Hebro77 here. Let me bring the microphone closer to my mouth. Oh, yeah, right there's good. How's everybody doing today? Now we are going to do this thing called a Bible reading. Now last week I had explained that I'm changing over from Thirsty Thursday to Fellowship Friday. So I put this on a Friday, this particular one. Now I will do more Thirsty Thursdays because I'm working on that. So I still will do Thirsty Thursday because there already is something going on Friday. You know, you got Freaky Friday, so I'm trying not to work over Freaky Friday. Now today I think what I'm going to do is I've been reading some Bible passages. I've been reading, I think, is it Matthew? Let me turn the page here. Oh boy. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've been reading Matthew. And I think last time I left off was Matthew chapter 12 is what I'm going to start reading. Now I'm going to read this entire page. See here. Oh, I got pages stuck together here already. Look, it's not even cooperating with me. And we're only about a minute, almost 2 minutes in. But I'll tell you what, you know, you got this whole coronavirus thing going on. I want to talk about that for a second, because not the coronavirus itself. Good Lord, is everybody getting sick of that talk already? But I want to talk to you about the churches that are getting shut down during this whole lockdown, and the preachers or pastors, whatever the case may be, that have been jailed for having services. Now I want to talk about that for a minute because since they had the Easter services and all these pastors are getting jailed, what happens when we go back to normal? What happens when the press release this thing and say the virus is done for, or we have a vaccine? What happens then? Are things going to go back to normal? They say, you know, that's what I'm talking about. I said when things go back to normal, but things I don't think will actually ever get back to normal. I don't think there'll be a normalcy, but I think that these preachers and the teachers will be released, and they will ultimately be free of all their charges and stuff, because it is not a law against religion. In fact, the Pilgrims came over here so they could practice free religion. This is why it's not why we give thanks. We give thanks because they were going to die and stuff like that, and the Indians fed them, and the Pilgrims and Indians got together and had a big meal and stuff like that. And that's why that's why we celebrate Thanksgiving. But I think Thanksgiving is much more than that. But you know, this isn't a Thanksgiving show, but I think it has become much more than that. It's become, you know, the week of Thanksgiving is usually the week people put up their Christmas lights, and they put up the Christmas trees and decorations and make everything look nice. Now, Christmas is a celebration of the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So, you know, the week before that, which is the week of Thanksgiving, when people are putting up all their decoration stuff, I think it means a lot more than the history of it. I think it means that should be the time. Well, we should be thankful all year round, but that should be the time when we have our families over and we're breaking bread with family and friends alike. You know, that should be the time we actually tell our families that we're thankful for having them and for being alive and for everything that God has blessed us with. You know, I think if we made Thanksgiving less about what the Pilgrims and Indians did hundreds of years ago and more about the Father, then it would have so much more meaning behind it. Not saying that stuff wasn't important. It actually is in a way, but in a way not so much, because that was a bad time period for the Native Americans. They had that one day of being thankful, and then after that the Pilgrims took over and slaughtered all of those Indians and took over their land eventually anyway. So that was not really, and that's what I'm trying to say here, is it's got that sort of stigma behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's good history there, but there's also that stigma that those people had come to this country for good intentions, so they can break away from England and England's rule, so they could have free religion. So I said all that to say this: we do have free religion, the freedom of religion, and I think that when all this comes to a head, there's going to be some congressional hearings. There's going to be tons of things being said, or at least I hope there will be, because there needs to be, I don't want to say retributions, but there needs to be, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for here, but there needs to be something done about these violation of our rights. And, you know, some people could say, well, the rights were violated, you know, for the greater of good. You know, people could say they were done to help protect us. Well, that could be said about a lot of things. But when you give all the power to the government, to certain governments, you've given up your rights. We, the people, voted for these people. And I'm not saying that we gave up these rights, but I'm saying you gave up your rights the minute you put that mask on, went out in public with a mask on. Okay? And I'm not saying, you know, don't wear a mask and the virus doesn't exist and anything like that. I'm not saying anything like that. If you want to take the precautions and wear the mask, then that's cool. You know, just to be on the safe side, you know, that's fine. I get that. Because there's still illnesses out there. There's still sickness. There's some sickness, obviously. It's killing some amount of people. It's maybe a little worse than the flu. But we all know that the death counts are exaggerated and blah, blah, blah. I don't really want to get into that because I don't want to get this video, or this premiere taken down by YouTube. They don't want us to talk about that. So let's not focus on that. What I'm focusing on is the freedom of religion and your rights. Your rights as an individual and your rights as an American citizen. And I think your rights as a human being, actually, to be able to worship however you want. And I think that, you know, I don't mean to beat this thing into the ground, but there's got to come a time when there's some fallout for all of it, all of this. And just like the Pilgrims did hundreds of years ago, I don't know, two or 300 years ago, I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. But just as it was back then, people are going to stop following. There's going to be some revolting. There's going to be people tired of this crap, and they're going to flee. They're going to say, I don't know if they're going to flee to Canada, or they're going to flee to another country that has, I don't know what other country has more freedoms than we do. And, you know, whether or not you think that all of our freedoms are being taken away and the Constitution's being raped, we still do have a lot of freedoms in this country, a lot more than people realize. But those people that are getting screwed over, they may try to revolt. They may try to start a civil war. The people against the government, the one world government that we're all talking about. You know. Now, I'm not saying that to fearmonger. I'm not saying it is going to come to revision. I'm not saying anything. I'm just throwing it all there on the table and telling you what writing is on the wall, because the writing is definitely on the wall. But you know what? That's all of this that I'm saying should be saved for a one of my live streams. And I apologize for bringing. This is a Bible reading stream. This is not a let's revolt against the government stream. Okay, this should be all about the Father. Make it all about the Father. And I've rambled on, but in a way, some of it is all about the Father, because it has to do with our right to worship the Father. Now, one thing the government cannot do is take away your right to worship the Father in your own home. So keep that in mind. You know, all these preachers and ministers and rabbis, whatever, getting arrested for keeping their churches open. And now the funny thing is, now that we're opening back up the country, what are they going to do if all those ministers and priests and rabbis, whatever, that got fined thousands of dollars because they broke the lockdown laws or whatever? You know, what's going to happen now? Now the country is reopening. All the churches will be reopened. You knuckleheads. So now you're going to get the government's going to get sued. Either way. But anyway, like I said, that's all for a regular live stream, maybe a Shifty Sunday or a Taco Tuesday or something like that. This is Bible reading. So hey, you know what? Let's get to the Bible reading. I've been talking this whole time about rights and, you know, blah blah blah. I was trying to make a point about worshiping the Father, but I think it got lost somewhere along the way. I do tend to ramble sometimes. So anyway, hey, let's crack open those Bibles. Let's get right down to it. And let's begin the reading of Matthew 12. All right, Matthew chapter 12. At that time, Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, why do you disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day? But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of God, and did eat the shewbread? No, not Schubert, I'm just kidding. Shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priest. Or have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blasphemous? Oh wait, blameless. Sorry, I read that wrong. But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath day. And you know, I had a dream several months back. I think it's been over a year ago now, where I walked in my grandma's bedroom, and on the end of her bed there was this picture. I don't know what it was doing on the end of the bed, or rather there was like a banner that popped up. Not like a banner like we see on live streams and whatever, but like a physical banner, like almost as though the bed's quilt had this on it, and it said Jesus is Lord. And that's the same dream that I said when I went outside and I saw a child's drawing. And what was the child's drawing? Was it an angel? Shoot, it's like I said, it's been over a year ago. I remember it was a child's drawing of an angel. I think it was an angel. And then the angel became real, like a real picture. I mean, like, it was no longer a child's drawing, but it was like something that you would see in the cathedral or something. You know, it was like a real painting of an angel. And it turned into this, like, the most wonderful painting I've ever seen. One of the dreams that I'll share after I read this next, we'll read all of this, but one of the dreams I never called in or never mentioned to anyone, I will mention that to you here today, but I'm going to go ahead and sip my coffee. Boy, that's good. That's good. And I think maybe I'll post this video on Friday. Next Friday, of course. Too late for this Friday. Would it be blasphemous if I called one of my videos or one of my premieres Sabbath Saturday? Yeah, that might be a little too much. We won't go there. Anyway, for the Son of Man is Lord. That's where I remember the dream. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue, and behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? Is this the one where Jesus talks about, would you pull an ass out of a pit on the Sabbath? Let's read on. That they might accuse him. And he said unto them, What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? Wait a second. Has this changed? Has it changed, or is the writing is this in a different, like in John or something, and Matthew wrote it differently? Because he didn't want to say ass? I don't know. Anyway. How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council meeting against him, how they might destroy him. But when Jesus knew it, he withdrew himself from thence, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them all, and charged them that they should not make him known, that it might be fulfilled which is spoken by Esaias the prophet, saying, Behold, my servant whom I have chosen, my beloved, in whom my soul is well pleased. I will put my spirit upon him, and he shall shew judgment to the Gentiles. He shall not strive nor cry, neither shall any man hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed shall he not break, and smoking flax shall he not quench, till he send forth judgment unto victory. And in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Then was brought unto him one possessed with a devil, blind and dumb, and he healed him, insomuch that the blind and dumb both spoke and saw. And all the people were amazed and said, I'm going to sneeze. As soon as I hit the pause button, the sneeze went away, so it's still up in there. Look for it to be released anytime soon. Where the heck was I, man? I went to sneeze and it went away. But when Jesus knew it, withdrew himself. Oh, I've already read all that. He shall not strive nor. Oh, I've read that too. Let's see here. Where was I? Send forth judgment into victory, and in his name shall the Gentiles trust. Then was brought unto him. Yeah, I read all that too. Oh man, I'm further along than I thought. But when the Pharisees heard it, they said, This fellow doeth not cast out devils, but by Beelzebub, the prince of devils. Oh, so he's casting out devils with devils. I mean, that's what the Gentiles said, you know. But you know, they cast aspersions on everyone in this New Testament, those Gentiles. You know what I mean? Ah, that was a big gulp of my coffee. Big gulp. Jesus knew their thoughts and said unto them, Every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand. And if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Question mark. And if Beelzebub cast out devils, by whom do your children cast them out? Therefore they shall be your judges. But if I cast out devils by the Spirit of God, then the kingdom of God is come unto you. Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man? Excuse me. And then he will spoil his house. He that is not with me is against me. Oh, this sounds familiar. That's some of the stuff we say today in these days. If you're not with me, you're against me. Doesn't sound like something Jesus would say, but you got to remember, a lot of people are still stuck on the fuzzy Jesus. They should read this. I mean, they really should read this. They should read Matthew. They should read John. They should read all the teachings of Jesus before they say, well, Jesus is a loving and caring and all fuzzy lumpkins. You know, he passes out roses and says, peace, man. No, that he is that. He is caring and loving. Don't get me wrong. But he's not all about that. If you don't do away with your... And I'm not saying personally, you guys better do away with your bad ways or else you're going to hell and you're going to live in hell for eternity and you're going to burn in an eternal flame forever and ever. I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say that. But I am going to warn you. I am going to give you a warning that if you don't start following Jesus and you don't start, you know, changing your ways, that could be a possibility. They say that hell is a very real thing. And for the longest time, I didn't believe in hell. Because I always thought, and this is a misconception, I guess, is that Jesus had went down into hell. I guess I haven't always thought this, not like since I was a little boy or anything. But since I discovered it on History Channel about the lost books of the Bible and whatnot, probably way back in my 20s, Jesus went down into hell, opened up the gates, or tore down, not opened up, excuse me, tore down the gates of hell and released all of those righteous, all of those that were righteous, released them. Now, if he's tearing down the gates of hell, the righteous aren't the only ones getting out of hell. Everybody's getting out of hell. But now I realize how ridiculous that sounds. Why would Jesus go down into hell, tear down the gates, and release everybody? Okay? He's going to release the righteous. He's going to release the people who believe in him, who follow him, who want eternal life. Even if this story is true, we don't know if it's true or not. This is in the lost books of the Bible. We don't know anything about the lost books of the Bible because they're lost. They're not in the Bible. I mean, no, they're not lost. I mean, of course they were found, but you know what I'm saying. You know, they're not canon. But that goes without saying, because how do we know any of this is true, right? I guess you could say that, right? You could say that about all of this in general. Well, it's on faith. So if I have faith in what's in the Bible, then why shouldn't I have faith in what's out of the Bible? Because that was all part of the Bible. So I would think that whatever was in the Bible and then removed was all part of the Bible. Like it was all written for a reason, and that was all put in there for a reason. People, you got to remember, these are things that were taken out by the Catholic Church. They were taken out by the Jewish faith, the Jewish scribes in the Catholic Church, and the whatever, I know, the Muslim religion or whatever. These are things that were taken out by particular scribes, particular Gentiles, or particular, you know, Catholics, Catholic leaders. They didn't want that stuff in the Bible. They didn't want it in there, but it was written. So if it's written, all that is written to me that's in the Bible has meaning. And all of it should be in there for us to study and to learn. And that's why I read these Bibles. You know, Armor Up had a good point when he said he read his Bibles so that the blind could hear good Bible readings. And that is a good point, and that's a good reason to do it. But the other reason I do this, so I can learn, because I have not studied the Bible as much as some of these other people have studied the Bible. I want to learn more about Jesus, and I want to learn more about the Father, Jesus, and all of these men, the disciples. I want to learn. So as I'm reading this Bible, I'm learning, and I'm sure even the ones who are out there who have read all this and who are very familiar with the Bible, they like to hear it as well, because they relearn stuff. Like Armour said to me once, you can't just read a passage in the Bible and, okay, well, I'm finished with John, let's move on to Matthew, or I'm finished with Matthew, let's move on to Mark. There's so much information in there that a person cannot take on, unless you're Rain Man or something like that, that a person cannot take on all at once. It's too much information. But if you read something over and over again, like watching a movie over and over again, you read it over and over again, you come to realize there are things in here that you either missed, there are things in here that you need to revisit because they're important to you in your life at that time. There's all kinds of reasons for going back and reading this stuff. But my point is, going back to the lost books of the Bible, I think that the lost books of the Bible are just as important and should be just as recognized as all of these other books. In my opinion. That's just my opinion. I'm not forcing anything on anybody. But I was talking about hell being a very real place. And it is. But when I was a younger man, I had this misconception that Jesus went down into hell and released all the prisoners. To make the long story short, you got to earn your way into heaven, much like you have to earn. I'm not going to say earn. I make it sound like earning rights and privileges. And it's all just my opinion anyway, because nobody knows anything about what's after. But I think that a lot of us could properly assume that through the Bible's teachings, it tells us, and the Father tells us, if we just only listen, we know how to get into heaven. We get into heaven through the Father. We get to the Father through Jesus. We follow Jesus. He leads us the way. Jesus leads the way to the Father. That is the path to the Father, through Jesus. But we have to get the real... Excuse me. We have to get to know the real Jesus. And I know I've said this before, and I'll say it time and time again. Because if I didn't say it, I wouldn't be doing my job. What is our job? Our job is to lead the flock, to lead the sheep. And I don't want to refer to people as sheep, because there's too many times where people say we're sheeple, especially in the truther community. We're sheeple and we just follow. Well, here's the thing. I'll put this Bible down for just 1 second. Here's the thing. If you're following man, you are sheeple. If you're following Jesus, you are not just sheeple. Um, following man should not be done. If you want to follow man, that's your business, but that's not the proper path. Is all I'm saying. And it's our jobs, not just, I'm not saying, sitting here saying I'm anybody special. I picked up the Bible one day, started reading it on the live stream or on the a video, a premiere. I'm not anybody special. Anybody that's talking to you on the internet's nobody special either. Nor priest, nor pastor, nor preacher, nor rabbi, any of those. None of those guys are anybody special. None of us knows everything. Some people might like to pretend that they know things. And some people might pretend to follow Jesus. And some people may even think that they're following Jesus. And they think that they're doing the right thing. And they think they're on the right path. Now, I'll say this. I gotta wipe down my microphone. It's got so much dust on it. There we go. Sorry if this is making noise. But that's driving me crazy. I gotta get that dust off of there. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, yeah. They may even think they're doing the right thing. And I'm going to be the first to admit I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I'm reading Bible verses. I'm trying to get to learn about Jesus through the Bible. And I guess I'm trying to teach something along the way. Not trying to. I might accidentally teach something. I have no business whatsoever telling other people they should do this or they should do that. I'll tell you that much right now. But I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to go down the right path. And hopefully I'm trying to get to know Jesus. And I try to be a good person. I try to do good deeds. Now, I'm not saying that good deeds will earn your way into heaven, but it doesn't hurt to do good deeds. And don't do them to get a pat on the back. I don't do them to get a pat on the back. I do it because I know it's the right thing to do. I don't ask for accolades or pats on the back. In fact, I'll give you an example. I'll share this story with you. A couple months ago, or about a month ago really, a girl contacted me on Messenger out of the blue. Didn't know who she was. Never met her. Never requested a friend request or anything like that. And we exchanged conversations because I was wondering who she was, this, that. She had a few mutual friends. That was my mutual friends on there. And she talked about being homeless. And she talked about needing food and this and that. She never asked for money. But she was talking about looking for food. Well, at the time she was talking about looking for food, I just assumed she was talking about looking at her, trying to decide what she wanted to eat for that day. So I just I didn't blow her off, but I just kind of went, okay, we're just having a conversation here. I said, well, good luck finding, what you want to eat. I told her what I was fixing that day. And the thought never occurred to me that she could have been actually looking for food. Usually when someone tells you they're looking for something to eat, it's usually they can't decide on what they want to eat. And this is, it's kind of weird because this is how our mindset is. But anyway, so I think a couple days went by and she contacted me again, and now she was talking about she hadn't ate for 3 days, and then it dawned on me, oh my gosh, she was saying that she was literally looking for food. And I knew that rain was coming. And she was out in the street. Now, what in the world she was doing out in the street with a cell phone that had an internet connection, I don't know. But I don't know. And why it would be fully charged down the street, I guess they have places they can charge their phones in restaurants and whatnot. But that's the other thing. Restaurants are closed. Maybe she's living out of her car. I don't know any of these things. But I offered her some help. I said, look, where are you at? I'll come there. I'll bring you some canned goods. I'll buy you a sandwich or something. You know, just tell me where you're at. And blah, blah, blah. And I'll send you a blanket. I got a blanket right here. I mean, yeah, do I cover up with it? Yes, I do. Of course, it gets cold in here at night sometimes. But anyway, I offered her my blanket, and I offered to give her, bring her some food and whatever, and maybe even look up some places where she could stay, because I know that some of the hotels in the area were taking homeless people. And she said, thank you, but no thank you. She told me that she was a recovering drug addict, and she was going through withdrawals, and told me this whole story about how she was recovering from this stuff. She said, I would be no more than a nuisance to you or whatever. I don't know what her exact words were. And I said, well, anything I can bring or anything I could do, just let me know. And I said, I'll pray for you. And I did. I prayed for her that night. And I think I even might have prayed for her the next day as well. So a week passes, about a week, maybe 2 weeks. And the message pops up on my messenger. Here, let me take a sip of coffee. So I get this message, and I look at the message, and she was like, thank you for your kind gesture. That was so amazing. A couple days after I talked to you, someone took me into their home. They took me off of the street. They fed me. They clothed me. I got a job now. I work at a tattoo shop. Well, wherever you can find work, you can find work. Which I don't understand. I thought tattoo shops were closed. I found this kind of weird, which leads me to believe she was never in any peril or danger in the first place, was just looking for money or sympathy. But no matter whatever the case may be, she might have been telling the truth. I don't know. But a tattoo shop during this pandemic seems kind of strange that they would still be open. Or maybe she had told me she had found something once places open up, I guess. But at any rate, she thanked me so much. I said, for what? I didn't do anything. She's like, well, it's the thought that counts. And I'm thinking in my head, no, it's the prayer that counts. I said, the Father loves you very, very much. And I said, in the message, I said, you don't have to thank me. And she said, I sent her the whole message about the Father's blessings and all this stuff, and didn't hear anything for a couple days. And then, like I said, a couple days later, she sends me a message back saying, I want to send you money. I want to send you a few bucks, And I told her no thanks. I turned it down, as we should do. I said the only thank you that's necessary is for you to pass it forward. And she said, I will, and I'll keep you updated on, when it happens or whatever. I said, well, that's cool, whatever. I wish you all the best. And she thanked me again, and I told her, God bless you and all this stuff. And I haven't heard from her since, but I think that that's an amazing story, and I wanted to share that with you. We should never pat ourselves on the back, because that's not why we do these things. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm sharing the story. I'm sharing the story because I'm sharing the testimony of our Father. Prayer is such a wonderful thing. And that's why I'm sharing this story. Is I want everybody to know that prayer really does work, that the Father does listen to our prayers, and He does answer them. He knows our needs even before we do. So He knew this girl's needs, even if she didn't have any needs, whatever the case may be. I guess I'm kind of a gullible person. I believed her. Now, who knows? Maybe the moment I said, okay, send me a few bucks, it could have been, the whole thing could have been a scam. She could have been trying to get my account information so she could rob me. But who knows? But, if we look at the positive side of things, and I really did, even if I didn't help someone, praying for someone's a good thing, because in my heart I truly believed that she was homeless and needed help. And then I prayed for her, and then she messaged me back, and this came to provision. And so either way, the truth or a lie or whatever, I felt like I did the right thing. And I feel like I should share this story because, first of all, it's an odd story because this person popped up out of the blue, didn't know him from Adam, and then, we do have a few mutual friends. But again, I don't know this person, never met him before in my life, never talked to them. I didn't strike the conversation with them. They struck up a conversation with me. And apparently it was a cry for help. I'm hoping that this was a true story, and I'm hoping she got herself clean and is turning her life around. And it's all through the grace of God. Everything that happens is all through the grace of God. And that is why I wanted to share the story. It's not so much a story of one human being helping another, as so much as it is a story of how the Father truly loves each and every one of us and is truly there to answer our prayers, and truly loves listening to prayers as much as I'm sure He loves answering them. But it's a story about faith and how we should trust in the Father to tend to our needs and the needs of others. But also how, as human beings, we should do the right thing. And not really make a big deal out of it, and just move on. But I feel like that I did the right thing, whether it was a lie or true or whatever. I'm sure it was true for someone. And, you know, whatever. She hasn't asked me for any money. Never did ask for money. Offered to give me some money. Of course, I turned it down, rightfully so. But anyway, I digress. I'm just kind of rambling right now. But it is amazing the power of prayer. And that's the message we should take away from that. Is we, as human beings, should help one another when the opportunity rises. Or even if the opportunity doesn't rise, I mean, you should lend your hand to your fellow man, or in this case, fellow woman. Oh wait, no, that sounds wrong. She's not a fellow woman. I'm not a woman. I'm saying, like, if your fellow man is a woman. Oh boy, too much coffee. Anyways, you know, that's the story. I hope you found it uplifting. I hope it resonated with you. If anything, I hope it brings more awareness of the teachings of Jesus and more awareness that the Father is real, number one. Number two, that the Father does like to hear our prayers. And number three, the Father does answer prayers. That was the whole point of the story. And I guess my reading has stopped. Although I am going to try to read one paragraph here because we do have plenty of time. Last week I killed the time by about 10 minutes. And we do have about 10 minutes left. And even so, you should always make time for the Father, right? So even if this show drags on for another couple minutes, it would be fine. Let's start on 32. And whosoever speaketh a word against the Son of Man, it shall be forgiven him. But whosoever speaketh against the Holy Ghost, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in his world, neither in the world to come. Either make the tree good, and its fruit good, or else make the tree corrupt, and its fruit corrupt. I get sniffles. Every time. It seems like every time I do these shows, I get the sniffles. I think that might have something to do with the coffee. I don't know. I did have to sneeze earlier, and I held it back, so maybe I'm paying for it now. But anyway, the tree corrupt, and its fruit corrupt, for the tree is known by its fruit. O generation of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. And I think that that's true. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bring forth evil things. But I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account therefor in the day of judgment. For by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. Then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from thee. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign to be given to it, but the sign of prophets Jonas. For as Jonas, was 3 days and 3 nights in the Jonah. Okay. Oops. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh shall rise in judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, because they repented at the preaching of Jonah, and behold, a greater than Jonah is here. The queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with this generation, and shall condemn it, for she came from the uttermost parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon. And behold, a greater than Solomon is here. When the unclean spirit is gone out of man, he walketh through dry places, seeking rest, and findeth none. Then he saith, I will return into my house from whence I came out. And when he is come, he findeth it empty, swept, and garnished. Then goeth he, and taketh with himself 7 other spirits more wicked than himself, and they enter in and dwell there. And the last state of that man is worse than the first. Even so shall it be also unto his wicked generation. While ye yet talk to the people, behold, his mother and his brother stood without, desiring to speak with him. The one said unto him, Behold thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak with thee. But he answered and said unto him that told him, Who is thy mother, and who are my brethren? And he stretched forth his hand toward his disciples and said, Behold my mother and my brethren. For whosoever shall do the will of my Father which is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. And we will put a bookmark there as that chapter is over. And when we return with the next show, we will read Matthew chapter 13. So, a little thing before I get off the air here. I want to tell you real quickly about the dream I had a few years ago. And I remembered it not a few years ago. Hold on. And I'll put this in the context. A lot of people say, why do the Catholics worship Mother Mary? Mother Mary is dead, and she was nothing really more significant, but she was. She was the mother of Jesus. And, I can't say that I vouch for the Catholics and say that they don't worship the mother. They do pray to the mother, and I don't agree with that. But in my dream, I went to the Virgin Mary, and I didn't go to her. She came to me in this dream. And this has been, I don't know how many months ago. It's been a long time ago, but it did stick with me. And she said, would you like to meet Jesus? And I said, well, yes, of course. And there standing before me, lo and behold, was Jesus, the way we see him in those portraits and pictures and whatnot. And of course, I know that's the brain's way of saying, this is what Jesus looks like, whatever, because, we're so indoctrinated with those portraits and pictures of him. So anyway, he comes up to me and walks over and puts his hand on my shoulder and said, I am the way, I am the light, and soon you shall be with me. And I went down to my knees, which I can't do in real life. I got bad knees, let me tell you. But at this moment in time, my legs got really weak. and I went down to my knees and I touched his feet. I touched the bottom of his foot. Not the bottom of his foot. Over the top of his foot, you know. And I looked up to him. And I didn't say any words or anything. And he looked down at me and smiled. And that was it. I woke up. It was a short dream. But, you know, it really stuck with me. It did. And, you know, with all that being said, I just want you to keep in mind that dream and what it meant to me. It was very powerful to me. And, you know, whatnot have you. But anyway, that does it for this show. Thanks everyone who showed up. Thanks for listening to me ramble on about stuff. And I hope the rest of your day finds you well, and Father's love and blessings to all, and to all good night. Until next time, this is Hebrew 77 saying good night, everybody.